I'm preparing this Oncidium Twinkle for repotting. This is what it was in, this perlite, pretty wet mix with a peat moss perlite mix. Yeah. I was in this little pot and the roots were, they were trying to get out. It was a pretty small pot. And here are my roots. This is my Oncidium Twinkle. And here you can see I have a lot of roots. And I have some new growth in there. You can maybe you can see some little green tips, I'm not sure. But it's in active growing mode. It's a good time to switch it. I do have a lot of healthy roots on here. I have a lot of new roots on here. It's growing like a weed right now. There is, oh geez, there is some bark still in there. I spray it with a hose to try to get as much of the old media out to put it into the semi-hydroponics. I can't get all the bark out. It's pretty jammed up in there, but I'm not too concerned as long as you get at least like 90% or more. It'll be fine. So, here's my pot with my 2 holes, about an inch, maybe less than an inch. Now I'm going to take, this has been soaking. I actually soaked my beads finally. Soaked these. I'm going to fill it up. Alright, so I have my good padding of leca beads down in there. Should be good. Now these roots don't go down very deep, so I'm going to add more beads so that it sits on the beads. You can use a larger pot than normal conventional repotting. There we go. Now it's sitting on the beads. And then, I'm sucking at this. I'm just going to fill in around the sides. Just going to put them all in around, in all the sides. Do a little, this action, and make sure all the beads are around the roots. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I'm back. I didn't like how deep this pot was for those roots. If your pot is too deep and your reservoir is too small, the wicking is not, that wicking that we try to get in our semi-hydroponics is not going to work as well. Since I have a lot of new growth on the top, I want it to be closer to the reservoir. So I went and I cut this pot to make it just an inch shorter. So I'm going to try this again. Go in there. Fill up my reservoir. Give myself a good padding of leca beads at the bottom so that my old roots do not touch the reservoir. That's the whole point. We don't want our old roots touching. Oh, that's so much better. The reservoir, see? So now, I don't know, you can see the shade there, down there. That's my leca beads. And then here, so here's my reservoir, little padding of leca beads, and roots all right here. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna fill it up. Fill her back up by putting some in and pinching around. Can't do it with one hand, so I'll be back. Okay, ta-da! I did it. I filled her up. Made sure most of my new growth is on a side that has a little more room. And back here where my old growth is. I like to try and kind of go in and put the beads where I feel like they need to go. I don't know if that's totally necessary, but it makes me feel a little better. See, like there's that hole in there. I'm trying to just fill this little hole up with beads. So here's the little twinkle. Yes, it has these yellowing tips. There's 2 reasons that these tips could be yellowing, because the new growth doesn't have that. The old growth does. One of the reasons, I think it could be due to extra light, too much light, because I did move this into a south-facing window. But I think what the real reason is, because these yellowing tips showed up shortly after I fertilized it. I think I used a stronger fertilizer, and I think that this is kind of the Twinkle's version of a fertilizer burn. All right, so I'm just going to show you guys how I fill the reservoir. Let's see, where's my reservoir? And this is how I water my plants in semi-hydroponics and how I fertilize them. And you need to fertilize every time. So this can is filled with fish poop water. So I like to flush with fish poop water. I'm going to put it on this side. The water is going to drain out that side. It's over a bucket in one of my grow spaces. Just going to dump water. Boom, dump it, fill her up, and it pees out. See, that's flushing the reservoir. Reservoir is flushed. Take my adorable watering can. How cute is that? This is my watering can with fertilizer. And then I'm just going to go over it with fertilizer. Put it in there. Alright. There we go. And that's it. That's how I water and fertilize my plants in semi-hydroponics.